Well, that sucked. Warriors are down 3-1. A brutal third quarter does them in game 4 at Chase Center. Warriors lose both their games in San Francisco. And now the question, are they finished? On today's show.
You are Locked On Warriors.
Stop trying to turn the page on us so fast.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
We got 4 championships.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Every team has a chance if Steph's on the team.
Your team every day.
It's good, everyone. Welcome into Locked On Warriors as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, whether the season ends on Wednesday or whether we take this thing all the way to June. Regardless, we got content around the clock whenever news breaks and after every single game. And then in the offseason, Monday through Friday. Enough of talking about the offseason, but tonight makes it feel like it may be close. 117-110, the final score in favor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. A lot to break down. You can catch out this show on YouTube. You can also check us out wherever you get your audio podcast. We appreciate the support very much all season long. Thumbs up, subscribe, all the stuff that's free. It doesn't go unnoticed. And hop in the comments, say hello. Also, co-host tonight, welcome back, Matt Kolsky. You've heard him on the audio postcast, and this is your plug right now to subscribe for free to the audio version, Apple, Spotify, whatever it may be. He's formerly of KNBR as Matt Kolsky, also 95.7 The Game. I'm your host, Chuck Walter, formerly of 95.7 The Game, also CBS News Bay Area, KPIX. All right, where do we start? We start where this game turned into a laugher. That was in the third quarter. It began with the Warriors just kind of missing some shots and not being able to guard the three-point line. The Wolves were getting whatever they wanted. The perimeter defense just turned into atrocious defense regardless, which led to bad body language. And somewhere in there, maybe it was before the atrocious defense, or maybe it was after that had started, the Warriors just started kicking the ball everywhere, throwing it in the popcorn vendor's head. I mean, it was bad basketball until we got Guy Santos and the fellas that came in and showed some fight. But an interesting night, just the Jekyll and Hyde Warriors to a T. Sometimes, they hit 3 threes in a minute, and then next thing you know, they go 2 quarters without hitting a single one. Welcome, Cole.
Yeah, I mean, in this metaphor, which one is the bad one, Jekyll or Hyde? Because it was mostly the bad one.
We went over this on an episode early in the year, but I believe
I know which is which. Hyde is the evil, violent one, but I feel like the Warriors could use some Hyde right now. Might have been too much Dr. Jekyll. I feel like there's no Hyde without Steph Curry. And look, man, we're going to talk about things that went wrong tonight. I mean, you mentioned the third quarter, and obviously that's the heart of it. You go 7 of 19 while letting the Timberwolves go 15 of 23. And they did go 6 of 12 from 3 in the third. But so many of the non-three-pointers were wide open layups and 7 turnovers in the quarter for the Warriors.
Ugly turnovers too, man.
Just terrible. We can pick 1,000 things from tonight that went wrong. I think, we can anybody with eyes can tell you that Saturday was the game where they were really in it and probably needed to get it. Tonight, by midway through the third quarter, they really weren't in it anymore. But ultimately, barring an incredible turnaround, when we write the story of this season, we will write the end point in game 1. And I'm just not sure. Look,
you watch this game and you realize how damn good Steph Curry is and how he changes everything. I mean, did you see the spacing on the floor? Just the 3-point attempts for the Warriors. This is a team that shoots 50 a game, and they went for 33, and a lot of them were late, it felt like. Or, 27.
Yeah, it was a struggle. And honestly, it was a struggle all night on Saturday, too. They just struggled a little tougher. And look, one of the big things we have to talk about tonight is Jimmy Butler. And
Well, let's get into some individual performances right here. Let's tee it up with Butler because he's the big one. And here's what I noted about Butler in the game today. First quarter, Trace Jackson Davis is under the basket, back to the basket, has no move with about 5 on the shot clock. Butler jump stops within 4 feet. And instead of looking at the rim, he's immediately looking for Trace. And I'm like, all right.
It was like a handoff. I know exactly the play you're talking about.
He did it a couple times. Too unselfish. Finally starts getting going in the second quarter. And he gets these certain ISO matchups. Like it was McDaniels was on him at one point, and he just bullied his way to the rim. And you feel like you can get the ball into Jimmy's hands, and he can do that consistently. He's so smart at knowing where he's supposed to be on the court, when to pick and choose his matchups. And there was an entire quarter between, I want to say, the second and the third, where he didn't take a single shot in the game. Compare that to Kuminga, who's just attacking and getting the free throw line, and every time he has it, he wants to make a play. We did not see that from Jimmy Butler today. Strange in that regard. Brandon Pajemski, we saw him being plentiful with his shots. I mean, he took 14. Jimmy Butler in the game took 9. In no universe should Brandon Pajemski be taking more shots than Jimmy Butler. And if he is, he better be making them. He was 3 of 14. He was 0 for 4. He turned it over a couple of times. The defense for Pajemski's all right. That's not the issue here. It's just the fact that he can't put the ball in the basket and continuously takes some bad shots. Those two stuck out the most. And Pajemski, to me, it goes back to Steve Kerr having the yo-yo and being so willing to try different things at different times. And he was really set on his 8 guys or whatever it was in this game, despite Pajemski not working. He didn't go to Moody until really late. And I know Moody hasn't put the ball in the bucket in like 3 games until later in this one. But if it's broken, you got to try and fix something. And you've been talking about the depth all season. And look, at the end of the day, you may just not be good enough. Moody, Pajemski, whoever it may be, you don't have Steph Curry. It's the Wolves. Julius Randle had like 19 by the time fans got their popcorn. Like, what are you supposed to do, man?
Yeah, there's just not. There's at the very least, we can say there's a limit to what they can do without Steph Curry. There's a hard ceiling, and it's not as high as the Wolves' best game. You know, it's just a really tough spot. And like we said, the opportunity was there Saturday. I'm not sure it really was tonight, but, and I saw somebody in the comments say something to this effect. If I had to point a finger, it has to be at Jimmy, because one of the reasons in my mind that you were there all night on Saturday is that from the beginning,
he was a calming presence. Could stop the bleeding.
Well, yeah, and he was aggressive. Like, that sets a tone. When it's not the same. Look, my love for Jonathan Kuminga is well established. The feeling of Jimmy Butler attacking every time he gets the ball is different than the feeling of Jonathan Kuminga attacking every time he gets the ball. It just is. He's Jimmy Butler, for God's sakes. And fundamentally, it's a choice not to do that. Now, why did he make that choice? He's 35 years old. Maybe he just didn't have it tonight. All right. Maybe he just really felt like he had to get other guys going at the start early, because not having anyone else besides him and JK going hurt them on Saturday. I don't know exactly what the issue is, but I do know that Jimmy Butler cannot be the team leader of a team that's missing Steph Curry and only attempt 9 shots. Like you said, Kuminga, 13 attempts, but 12 free throws as well, and hit 11 of them. I mean, it wasn't as dynamite a game as he played on Saturday, but he certainly did what he could. Pajemski, terrible, but aggressive at least, trying to make stuff happen. And, you know, Jimmy can talk about being efficient and wanting to make the right play. And yeah, he's 5 of 9. Congratulations. You shot over 50% from the field, and you're minus 30 on the night. In large part, I would say, because you just were not aggressive enough, full stop. Even Draymond, by the second half, when things were getting bad, was like, all right, someone's got to attack the basket. And he started probably overshooting. But it's at least a little distressing that Draymond, Pods, Buddy, and Kuminga all had more shot attempts than Jimmy Butler.
Yikes. And a minus 30 too.
Minus 30 is a lot. I mean, I think plus minus is overrated, especially in Warriors land. But
here's what's not overrated.
That's not good.
Getting to the free throw 5 times. I mean, we've seen
not enough.
We've seen him get to the line at 12 with ease. And
there were a couple plays tonight where he took it hard to the hole, took some contact, missed a layup, and didn't get the call. I get it, but you got to keep doing it, or this team has no shot.
Yeah. Let's continue the conversation, talk some more about this game. A little deep dive into what was a game of runs and why it feels like when the Wolves go on runs, they feel a lot more sustainable than the Golden State Warriors. And that poses the question, I mean, have we seen enough to declare this thing scary season? Maybe not over, but scary season. I think it's a unanimous answer from all of Dub Nation. Going to be tough to get back into it as the Wolves are up 3-2-1. The show continues after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. They're also our title sponsor, and you can take control of your finances with Monarch Money using code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control of your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. Think it that way. You can manage your money, stop managing your money because you can just build your wealth instead. It's easier to manage your money with a partner. It's smoother than ever. I do it with Kylan. You got shared personal accounts. You set goals. You can stay on the same page without the stress. And you can find out through a insight tab on the app what you're spending money on. And you may find out that you're spending way too much money on services or whatever that you don't need to. So it's good stuff. You could take control of your finances with Monarch Money, and you can use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, so it's tough to get separation on these guys, Kolsky. I even said it in the first half when the Wolves would go up 7 or 8. The Warriors would claw back into it. They'd go up 2. They'd go up 5 at most, it felt like. And then Anthony Edwards would hit a 30-footer as the buzzer expires to go into the locker room. And you're like, damn it, we can't get any separation over these guys. And then the Wolves go up 6. The Warriors hit a 3 or whatever. Buddy Hield seemed like he was the equalizer at a certain point where every time the Wolves would try to pull away, Buddy would hit a big basket, or he'd take it to the lane, or he'd have a steal and go the other way for a finger roll. And then the Buddy magic ran out. The Pods magic was never there. Playoff Jimmy didn't exist tonight. Kuminga did all he could with 23 points. Draymond did all he could with 14. Peyton non-existent. Buddy just didn't have 33 in him in the game. And the team as a whole couldn't shoot the rock. 8 of 27 from 3, 29%. I mentioned earlier the spacing. It looks completely different than a team with Steph Curry on the floor. And mind you, this is the first time we've seen the Warriors in an extended postseason without Curry. So this is like our sample size here is small, Kolsky, and we've seen enough to say that he makes a big difference in the series. You don't expect to have him back for Game 5. How in trouble are the Golden State Warriors right now in this series, down 3-1?
It's a lot of trouble, dude. I mean, they're in a lot of trouble.
Flights to Cancun?
No. I think this team has too much respect for themselves and the game to do that.
No, I'm saying from a fan base. You're not booking your plans into late May.
I mean, I think let's just say I think late May is. I got a Memorial Day trip planned, and I don't think it's going to affect the show. I hope it does.
Oh, you're going to have to be there for off season. We're going to have to break down Con Knipple in case he slides all the way.
Yeah, but we can pre-tape and just air him when I'm in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry, we'll take care.
Beautiful thing about the off season.
No, but seriously, Con Knipple, huh? You a Conca guy? We'll get into that later.
Sliding down that deep end, though.
Okay. There is a part of me that says,
win a game, get Steph back, and watch some hero ball.
I mean, look.
Okay, as long as you have 30, you have a chance, and we don't know how long he's going to be out. Like,
coming back from down 3-1 is unlikely under any circumstances.
More
Steph
likely
Curry,
when you haven't seen your team against them, though, fully healthy, and you have a chance to potentially see it.
Yeah,
right?
Look, there's a lot of problems, right? But when Steph got hurt, if I'm trying to make an argument for the hang with us here, when Steph got hurt, the argument was get one win out of the next 3 games and see if he can come back for game 6 and 7. And that general plan is still on the table. This would be the most difficult way to do it, but it's still on the table. I think the really, there's 2 problems here. One is
Julius
that
Randle, Anthony Edwards. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's the second one. I mean, Julius Randle was tough tonight, but
he got him started.
Yeah, but they weren't.
It 31, man. 31 and 5 from Randle, and 19 of them were literally within like 10 minutes or 14 minutes, I believe it was the exact stat.
Yeah, but throughout that time, the Warriors were largely winning the game, And I think you feel okay. Look, Julius Randle is a talented basketball player, but I think you'll live with it if he's doing a lot of one-on-one stuff and banging into people. All right. He's averaging almost 10 assists before this game in this series. Tonight he had 3. The problem is when Ant starts to get going, he can just wreck everything. And that's what happened in the third quarter. He wrecked everything. And look, even if the Warriors hadn't been playing like garbage as it happened, that still might have been enough to knock this team out. And to everyone saying things like, I can't believe how bad they are without Curry. You should. This is normal. When you lose a player who, first of all, is one of the 10 or 15 greatest players in the history of the game, and second of all, is paid that way, there's not enough left usually. They're in a pretty rare situation to have the Jimmy Butlers of the world, a Jonathan Kuminga to dust off in order to convince yourself that you might have a chance. But you think Boston feels good about things losing Jason Tatum? And frankly, they're much deeper than the Warriors. So this is what happens when you lose your super duper star. Everything becomes very difficult. And
you said this all year, Kolsky. You said there's only one thing that matters, and that's 30's health. You said without Steph Curry. You said this in December. We talked about it.
And it's been true since December 2015. But
the gift that keeps on giving. Yep.
That's who that guy is.
Breath whenever he goes down. I mean, that's the nature of the Golden State Warriors right now. And I thought that there was a chance, frankly, that they could get one of these 3, that they had enough in the tank. And you're right, it was 3, game 3, that they really had a shot to get it done. And we said it takes a village, because typically what you're going to get from Butler. You didn't get it today. You now know in the series that you're going to get a pretty effective Jonathan Kuminga, but it's going to be up to the other guys, the Moody's who didn't play, the Brandon Pajemskis who played plenty, but not very well whatsoever. I mean, final numbers for him, he played 33 minutes. In no world should he be playing more than Jonathan Kuminga right now. It's at some point you got to have some in-game adjustments. You got to see what's working, and you got to switch things up. And you say, all right, well, there's no point guard. I don't know how many times I saw Pajemski in the corner with Draymond bringing the ball up the floor, or Butler bringing the ball up the floor, or Buddy bringing the ball up the floor. So if he's not your primary ball handler and he's not scoring and hasn't been scoring these entire playoffs, you got to do something else. Throw in Quentin Post. I don't know. But today it just felt like there was no experimentation until it was way too late. That's kind of my takeaway. Not that it would have made a difference anyway, But
right. I mean, these are all band-aids on amputations, but
yeah, it's a
you're not
Band-Aid on the
wrong.
Titanic.
It's a it,
Some Flex Seal on the Titanic is what
after
it is.
I'm not even gonna
Bill
say
Steele says it
anything.
would work. All right, sorry.
I have nothing to say about Kuminga's minutes, but I'm certainly not going to disagree with what you had to say about it. But at the end of the day, when you look up and down this roster, the only things that are gonna, I mean, you're obviously gonna need a Jimmy game on Wednesday, right? That's non-negotiable. It can't be 14 points on 9 shots. That's ridiculous. But assuming you can get a good game out of Kuminga and a representative performance out of Butler, offensively, it's got to be Pods and Buddy. I mean, we can say, oh, Draymond needs to score more. We can say, like, get some lobs up to Trace, score easy buckets that way. Maybe Moses Moody or Gary Payton will hit a couple threes. But realistically, the only other real offensive options left on this roster are Buddy Hield and Brandon Pajemski. Buddy, decent chance you get a big game. And a big Buddy game could definitely win you game 5. Pajemski is the one who's the most disappointing to me because, like, he's the prince that was promised, frankly. While you were benching Kuminga, not just over the last couple months, but for every little mistake over his entire career, Pods is the guy who you told us he was going to shoot 10 threes a game. He started the season in the worst slump anyone has ever seen. Just absolute dog feces for the first 2 months of the season, and it was nothing but pats on the butt. So he's got to be better. He just has to be better. If they want any chance, he's got to be able to be a functional playoff player, and he has not been that pretty much this whole series.
No, and if you lose a game 5, a game 6, a game 7, regardless, if you lose this series, you got to take a serious look in the mirror if you're Steve Kerr about not necessarily dishing Pods off. Like, I don't know if his value's that high to where he makes sense as a trade chip, but just trying to upgrade at that position through a trade, through free agency, through any way you can possibly do it. The draft, I don't know.
It's going to be such an interesting offseason because they don't have
good games. We've both gone here to where
I like Pods. I like Pods, but if we were just talking about at least somewhat realistic ways to win game 5, he has got to be a part of it, and that involves being a much better scorer. And we know he can do it.
Yeah, but you have to have faith in him, right? And you have to think that he's a reliable one. And we've now seen 7 + 4. We've seen 11 games in these playoffs. Off the top of my head, maybe he showed up for 2. And tangibly, every game, right? He plays defense.
Yeah.
He rebounds as good as any guard out there. He's fine in that sense. But look, he's kind of a scorer. He's got to be a scorer at that position, at that combo guard. And he has not been that. 17-0 run in the third quarter is what did it end. It was 68-68. It was 85-68 moments later. Chase Center never had a chance to really get on their feet again. I told you couldn't defend the 3-point line, no spacing on offense. There was one point where Pods was the only 3-point threat out there. And it's like, Pods, the only 3-point threat out there. Well, it was Pods, it was Butler, it was Kuminga, it was Gary Payton, and it was Draymond. And that was an interesting offense to watch. But again, without Steph Curry, you just see the holes and the cracks in the foundation and how little spacers they have. And they went with the isolation ball for the most part today. It was pretty simple. It really helped Jonathan Kuminga get into a flow. But the other guys, they don't benefit from Curry not being on the floor. The Paytons, the Pods, it seems pretty straightforward in that regard. I thought Trace Jackson-Davis had some moments on Julius Randle early.
Yeah.
Around the rim and even forced a turnover around the 3-point line. It was usually when someone else was switched onto him where Randall was cooking. And then it was just Randall hitting tough shots. I mean, sprayed one over Jimmy's face with one on the shot clock. You remember that one?
Oh, yeah. He's a tough shot maker, man. And especially if you let him go to work with his bat back to the basket, he can do stuff. Again, I still think you'd rather have that happening to you than Anthony Edwards getting hot because
and getting to the basket, man. I mean, he was doing it from everywhere on the floor today. 11 of 21, 6 of 11. He had 30. But when he gets to the rim, man, it's automatic.
Yeah, and again, like they're both 11 of 21, right? Randall actually had 31 to Edwards' 30. Shot more free throws, but like it just feels different when that Edwards onslaught comes. And that third quarter, when he suddenly exploded, it's kind of like when Curry explodes. It discombobulates the other team. And I don't think, like, I think the fact that Anthony Edwards is going 6 for 8 for 16 points in that quarter and just scoring every which way on you, that has an effect on the fact that it's a 7 turnover, 17-point quarter for the Warriors. And so, yeah, I mean, Randall's tough, but let him pound it in the post every time down the court, as far as I'm concerned, if it keeps the ball out of Anthony Edwards' hands.
Yeah. So here's a chat that comes in. It's from Jamu. Pods 0 of 4 from 3, 20% this series. Chuck, how is that a threat from 3? He's a threat from 3 because he's shown it all season that he could put the ball in the basket. I mean, 37% for the season. I'm just going through the game logs. He hit 6, he hit 4, he hit 7, he hit 8 threes in a game. He hit 4, 4, 4, 4 in back-to-back games. He hit 7 again. He hit 4, he hit 5, he hit 4, he hit 3, he hit 4. That's a 3-point threat when it comes down to it. Like, he can put the ball in the basket at least parts of the season.
He is supposed to be a
certain
threat
calendar months.
3.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we're saying. Obviously, he has not been a threat from 3 in this series, and that's
the
part
problem.
of the problem. Yeah.
That's one of the very big problems. And if you're not going to have him be a threat, you need more than 2 of 6 from Buddy Hield. You need more than 1 3-point attempt from Jimmy Butler. Kuminga doesn't knock down a 3. I mean, 8 of 27 from the team today. It's just crazy how, preseason, man. We did the game against the Sacramento Kings, and the Warriors hit 28 of them. And we're like, oh, my God, this is the greatest shooting team ever. We got 12th man Lindy Waters spraying 6 threes in his limited minutes.
That's the problem. No Lindy anymore.
Whatever that team was compared to this team now, it's a completely different story because it was the entire first half yesterday that the Warriors didn't make a single 3, and it felt like the good majority of the second half, or at least 2+ quarters, legit, the Warriors did not make a single 3. Let's turn the page on this one. Game 5 is on Wednesday. It's win or go home for the Golden State Warriors, and hopefully the offseason doesn't start early. But the offseason has begun for the Dallas Mavericks. They have the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. Huh? Will they capture the flag? That's coming up on Locked On Warriors. All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Hungryroot. Have you heard of Hungryroot? If not, add this one to your arsenal. It is very good stuff because you always have something going on. You're busy. It's busy season for me. I don't have a lot of time to go grocery shopping in between the games and the 9 to 5. Can't cook the healthy meals at home. That's where Hungryroot comes into play. Imagine having your own personal shopper and a nutritionist wrapped into one. They take care of the grocery shopping and the meal planning, offering personalized recommendations based on your tastes and your health goals. They tailor it to what your needs are, but also what you like. So if you don't like cauliflower, they're going to find something that's healthy for you because you want it, but they're not going to put cauliflower in your meal. It's that simple. The meals come together in 15 minutes or less, giving you time for workouts, families, hobbies, Golden State Warriors basketball, Reddit, whatever it may be. So take advantage of this exclusive deal. Get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA for 40% off and a lifetime free item. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is. It's the you save savings. It's a slam dunk deal during the 2025 NBA playoffs. Anytime a player drops 50 or more in a playoff game, DashPass members score a 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. Place an order of $20 or more. Use the code Wingstop50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer is valid from noon to midnight the day after a game. Terms apply. Fortunately, this is for every game in the NBA. So maybe Shea or someone will go for 50 because I don't think it's going to be anyone from this Warriors team as of right now. Maybe Jimmy can do it. What's your go-to move? If a player goes for 50 burgers, no, you're going for wings. You're going for wings. Grab that 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the next day with $20 and code Wingstop50. That's DashPass. Your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. Back to the show. All right, so the Warriors down 3-1 in this series, but there was some big news to get to today that did not involve Golden State. It involved the NBA as a whole. I thought it was fascinating that the lottery, the final 4 picks, the final, I guess not ping pong balls, but the, what do you call them? The cards being opened involved these teams. It involved the Sixers, who have stars, okay? The Spurs, they have stars. The Mavericks, they have stars. And then it was the Charlotte Hornets, who really could have used this pick. Like, if anyone deserved the number 1 overall pick and to capture the flag, it was the Charlotte Hornets. If any team did not deserve it, based on just karma, based on general managing, based on running your favorite player and franchise face out of town to get another one just months later, it was the Dallas Mavericks. But that's the way that it works out. They get the number 1 pick. The Hornets somehow get the 4th. And now the Mavericks are on the clock. Will they go with Cooper Flag from Duke? Or could they potentially use this pick as a serious trade negotiation chip to get a piece like Giannis, maybe? They have contracts there to make it work. I guess the question becomes, how the hell did this happen? How did the Dallas Mavericks get this pick? And here's where it gets interesting. A devastating result for the Miami Heat. They would have had that a number 11 lottery slot had they just missed the playoffs. Instead, it goes to the Mavs and Cooper Flag. And this is why when everyone says at the trade deadline, oh, throw a lone first-round pick and go get Vucevic, or throw 2 first-round picks and go get Zach LaVine. Being greedy and being just being a little too liberal with your assets can sometimes lead to a play like this where trades are thrown around and next thing you know, you could have been entitled to a certain pick and you're not, and someone else is. So I gave you a lot there to break down, Kolsky. All to say, Cooper Flag to the Dallas Mavericks. How in the hell does this happen?
Good luck for Nico Harrison and bad luck for the rest of us. I mean, I don't know what to say other than it stinks.
See the 4th lowest odds to ever receive a number 1 pick, along with the Kyrie to Cavs pick in
and
2011,
the
Rose to the Bulls pick in 2008, the Chris Webber to the Magic pick. We know how that one turned out in 93. And then the Cavs in 14, who went after Anthony Bennett, who I forgot about completely. But go on.
Yeah, woof on that one, huh? Bad year to get lucky. But
Anthony Bennett jerseys out there. I mean, that's a relic. If someone's walking around in one of those, I'd probably stop and take a picture with them.
I don't think anyone kept those. I once tore the nameplate off of a Cade McNown jersey, so maybe people did that with the Anthony Bennett. You could just be a Wolves. Was he number 1? I don't know. Maybe somebody cool had that number previously. Anyway, it's a very weird situation. It might have been equally bizarre and unfortunate if Philly had won the lottery and added Cooper Flag to what they've got going on. But it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. With Giannis potentially on the market, I think you can at least make an argument that either the Mavericks or Spurs. I mean, it's hard to turn down a top 2 pick in a draft where both of those guys are expected to be excellent, especially Flag, obviously, at number 1. But Giannis already is excellent. And both the Mavericks and Spurs are pretty much ready to make a run at it if they could add Giannis. So if one of those picks could be the centerpiece of a Giannis package, that's fascinating. At the same time, maybe you put Cooper Flag next to Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. That seems like a pretty good fit, if you ask me. So all of a sudden, it may be annoying because I think Nico Harrison deserves to fail, but it makes the offseason even more interesting than it already was.
Oh, no doubt about it. Boston Celtics, they're in a hole, 3-1 to the New York Knicks. Don't want to spend any time on this, but just give the update. Jason Tatum, they're fearing it's an Achilles. Do we have anything?
I didn't see that. It looked like a foot to me.
He left in a wheelchair. Let me see. Obviously, we're not spreading any misinformation on this podcast live. Apparent leg injury.
Yeah.
MRI on Tuesday. So nothing as of right now, but let's put it this way. The Celtics aren't in a good spot in that series, but it's not like the Warriors really have to worry about them if they can't get out of this one.
No, I don't think either of those teams are an immediate concern of the Warriors. Even if Tatum was healthy, I don't love the Celtics' chances. And
Brunson, man. Mavericks had him too. Man, Mavericks have just been funneling around superstars.
The Brunson one.
That Western Conference team that played the finals runner-up, that played the Warriors in 2022. They didn't have Porzingis when they played the Dubs because they traded him mid-season for Spencer Dinwiddie. Interesting trade there. But at one point that season, did they have Kyrie? I guess they didn't have Kyrie yet. He was still on the Nets, but they had Luka, they had Brunson, and they had the big man Porzingis on the same team.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. I don't know where we were going before we got sidetracked by the 2022 Mavericks, but the Celtics were in trouble whether Tatum was healthy or not. Mm-hmm. At this point, if you're a Celtics fan, you're just hoping this isn't going to affect next year. I mean, that is where my head would be at.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of Warriors fans stand with bringing back Steph Curry a little too early. Hamstrings obviously have a tendency sometimes to lead to something else if they're not fully healed. So
got to be careful.
Yeah, you got to be careful with it and know that we signed up with Jimmy Butler for a 3 playoff run. It's this year. It's the fall-in playoff. It's the fall-in playoff. After that, a ton of money comes off the books, and the Warriors can really get whatever potential superstar they want. But where they stand right now is how close are they truly? We don't know because Steph Curry doesn't play in this series. I like to think that it would have been a whole lot different had he played in this. And then the second element to this is every season that goes along, theoretically, it gets tougher to win a championship because not only does the league get better, but your players get older. And when they're in their high 30s, upper 30s, it's going to be tough to sustain. And any year, any of these guys could potentially fall off a cliff from what they were. Final thoughts, Kolsky, before we say goodnight. We bid you adieu, and we see you on Wednesday after hopefully a win that gives us a little bit of hope that Curry can potentially come back for 6 and really cement another Curry game and series and season in his legacy if this team can make a run.
Yeah, it'd be great to see. I mean, I obviously, like the rest of everyone watching and you, would love to see Steph Curry play basketball again before the summer. I think you can win a game 5 in Minnesota. That's not something that's undoable. That's not an impossible task. So, yeah, hopefully it is a win on Wednesday. The one thing I do think we should say, which we didn't say so far tonight, is that whatever happens over the next couple weeks or month, undeniably, the Warriors are in a much better spot heading into the offseason.
Because of Kuminga. I know what you're going to say.
Because Jonathan Kuminga put some stuff on tape.
For sure.
That should really juice up whatever market there is for him. I still don't think there's much chance.
If it's not here, if it's not here, it's sign and trade potential, and that was your only way to bring back some talent, right? So
That's
when
the
we
thing.
talk about replacing pods, we're not replacing them, but bringing in competition to take a spot to be a legit combo guard or to bring in a big to go get whomever it may be.
Whoever it is. Yep.
He's definitely put a lot on tape. He's been good. I apologize. We've had this conversation many times. I like to tell it how I see it unfold, and as of the last few days, it's very clear that he can play with Jimmy Butler. There's no issue there. In fact, Butler basketball and a little more isolation actually helps his cause, I think. That's where he's really thrived. So, Matt Kolsky, Chuck Walter, this is Locked On Warriors. Follow the show wherever you get your audio podcast. Check me out on TikTok at It's Charlie Walter. Kolsky's got his Blue Sky underneath, kolsky.bsky.social.
Get me on Blue Sky, baby. Let's go.
Can you change your username, or are you just kolsky.bsky.social?
I mean, I don't know. I don't care.
Change it to Kolsky. Why do you need the
.bsky.social?
.bsky.social?
I think that's just how Blue Sky works. It's not something I'm super concerned about.
Fair enough. Let's not ruin anyone's night with this. All right, Locked On Warriors, everyone. Have a good one.
You'll still be able to find it, Chuck. It's out there.
Game 5. Get it.
Let's go.